So in your overview of Marx's analysis of capitalism, you alluded to what I believe is called the labor theory of value that he developed. So that's an idea. I've got the impression that it's come in for a lot of criticism because maybe I'm oversimplifying here, but the idea is that goods have a certain value. The company underpays its workers in order to extract profits from the difference between the value and what it pays the workers. That idea doesn't take account, for instance, of the prices that consumers are willing to pay for the goods. So I was wondering how.
Yes.
You could.
Well, don't take this personally. Your question bespeaks the very absence of teaching this material that I was referring to before. If you actually read Marx, and by the way, it's not that difficult, I guarantee you. If you read Marx, you'll know that he makes a distinction between values and prices. He talks about prices and what causes them. He talks about values, which for him are something else. Nor is he the only major economist who did that. Smith and Ricardo also did that. So he tried to use his analysis of value to say, whatever else a commodity is, a thing produced in capitalism, it has in it a congealed amount of labor. Every society has to make a decision, whether it's conscious of it or not. How much labor will we allocate to making food? How much will we make to clothing? How much, because you only have a certain amount of labor and you have a set of desires. And so every society allocates labor one way or another. For Marx, the value of a commodity simply meant the amount of the total labor a society had that was allocated to the production of that good. That's a definitional logic, which he then used to explain why prices are what they are. But there was no equation of price to value. Let me go back to the first part of your question. Has there been lots of criticism of the labor theory of value? Absolutely. There's been lots of criticism about virtually everything Marx ever wrote because of what happened in the years since. But that's true of every theory of value. For example, the mainstream one that is taught in the United States has a different name. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called the utility theory of value. Things are valuable because of the amount of utility they provide to the consumer. Try, please, to measure that. Please, come on. You're all smart folks. You think that's an easier concept to nail down? The utility theory of value? Exactly how much joy does that ice cream provide for you? How much money are you willing to part with? Will that vary with the temperature outside? Will it vary with the amount of calories you're counting? What? Every economic theory begins with a set of basic hypotheses upon which it builds its system. Marx started with labor because for him that was the key variable to focus on. Neoclassical economics, which developed in the 1870s, for those of you who know, was itself a reaction against Marx. They hated the labor theory of value because it was associated with Marx. They forgot, so let me make sure you all know, that Marx did not invent the labor theory of value. Marx took the labor theory of value, this may come as a shock to some of you, but just do the work, you'll learn. Adam Smith and David Ricardo, champions of capitalism. That's where the labor theory of value comes from. Marx thanks them profusely for it and then uses it to do things they never wanted to see done. This happens often in science. The people who develop a concept then get very upset with where their students take it. Marx was a student of Smith and Ricardo, took the labor theory of value in a way that was critical of capitalism. They had used it to celebrate capitalism. But if you see a lot of criticisms of the labor theory of value, be careful what these are criticisms of, because Marx's labor theory of value is not the same as Ricardo's and not the same as Smith's, and has more to do with this notion of how labor is allocated in a society than anything. Marx was not. Let me put it another way. When I teach in the American university system, we begin by assuming all students want to understand the great mystery of economics, which is, why is the price of something what it is? Why is the price of a hamburger $5 and the price of a Mercedes, much more than that. And that's very nice. Perfectly good to make an economics built on that question. I'm going to now exaggerate, but to make my point, Marx wasn't interested in that. And I'm not either. I got many more interesting things I want to understand about this economy than why the prices of things are what they are. I understand if you're a capitalist, you're very concerned about prices. But if you're somebody else, you might be interested, but you might have much higher priority subjects that you would. Marx is coming at it with a different agenda, and so he starts in a different place and takes it in a different way. By the way, just a footnote for some of you scholarly types. In 2012, a colleague of mine, Stephen Resnick, and I, we did a lot of work together, published a book called Contending Economic Theories. It was an attempt to create for an English reading public a book that systematically compares neoclassical Keynesian and Marxian economics so that a generation of students would have something to find. If you're at all interested, that's a title, Contending Economic Theories, Neoclassical, Keynesian, and Marxian. And the publisher is MIT Press in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Why MIT? Because it is the home of the most prestigious tradition in economics. Paul Samuelson, Robert Solow, all kinds of people were there. And we wanted very much to introduce the profession through a publisher that they all respect to deal with an argument that most of them do not understand.